Hi, everybody. Please welcome this polyglot journalist, Miss Cata, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Love that intro. You're hired. All right. Well, I want to start by thanking you all for being here today. The conversation I'm about to have with these two amazing women is something that is very near and dear to my heart. You'll learn why after we talk for the next 45 minutes. Just to give you a little bit about myself, my name is Cata Balzano. I'm a journalist, and I am very passionate about covering the intersection of entertainment and fashion and how each of these beats, as we call them in journalism, kind of impact the other, and how somebody who maybe starts in fashion can grow through music and entertainment, or somebody who's an entertainer can build a name for themselves through fashion, whether it be the way they dress or the people they work with or many other things. And to introduce over here the two women that are with me, I have Kanessa.
Hi, everyone.
Kanessa is a native New Yorker, but her Latin roots, or her Latina roots, run deep, which in many ways, I believe, gave her the knowledge, tact, and strategy to be able to develop and work with names that go anywhere from Robert De Niro and Oprah to modern day names like Maluma and Romeo Santos and Nicky Jam.
Yep.
And then, go ahead, Connor.
And many more.
And many, many more, yes. And Giulia B. Giulia is a multiple Grammy-nominated singer and songwriter, originally from Brazil. In 2021, Giulia received her first nod from the Latin Recording Academy for Best New Artist, and I would say the rest is history in terms of a stellar music career filled with opportunities. She also recently, just a few weeks ago, signed with Sony Music Multimedia, so let's give her a round of applause.
Viene album! Congratulations.
And she's also been on the covers of magazines such as Marie Claire Brazil. She's been on the cover of the art issue of Vogue Portugal, which I find spectacular.
Wow, you have a great publicist.
And with more than 13.2 million listeners and 135 million streams on Spotify, I would say she also has quite the power and influence to move masses.
Amazing. Congratulations. Thank you guys. Oh my God. What now?
Do either of you want to add anything to that?
I think we should acknowledge everybody that's here, because some of my friends are here and many people just that support fashion or contribute to fashion and music are here. So thank you for being here. That's what I want to say.
I don't think that it's very often that we get to spend a Monday surrounded by beautiful, incredibly powerful women, each with their own amazing stories and so much to bring to the table. And from the moment I woke up today, I've been nothing but inspired. So thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Aww. Likewise. Amazing. So now to talk about what we came here for. I want to start with the development of the image and fashion persona of an artist. And my first question for the ladies is, when it comes to an artist's music career, how much does a produced image have to do with it? However you want.
I'll take this one. I'll start a little bit by just going back to the beginning. When I started music, I just had so many stories that I wanted to make into stories that I could share with people, and I think that that was my ultimate goal. But I was 17, 18, and I think that as a young woman navigating in that industry, you have a lot of pressure. So I definitely tried all of the hair extensions, all the nails, everything, the glitter, the latex. It was great for a moment, but I quickly realized that that wasn't me, and that was okay. I think ultimately when I released a song where I went from fully latex hair extensions to like me with a white shirt on the beach playing guitar, that was when my career really took off. And I think that that shows me that in Brazil there's such a, you know, multiplicity of artists, and you have so many different women. You have women's with cowboy boots that are number one, and then you have women in bikinis who are number one, and I think that it's amazing to feel kind of embraced in that way. All of that to say that I feel like the image of the artist ultimately has to be aligned with the music and with whatever it's true and authentic to them. A lot of times I see, you know, there is a pressure. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel pressure to go and do all that stuff, but when I was able to understand that that wasn't what was gonna take me to where I needed to be, and by being myself, I had a lot more leverage than if I was just trying to be somebody else. That ultimately was for me the key. So definitely aligning both of those was important. But it took me time. It's not something that happens overnight. You take time to find your style, find your lane, you change throughout the years, and building that is just so fun and collaborative. I've met so many people and stylists. I feel like every stylist taught me like different things about, like one taught me how to love this part of my body, and the other one taught me how to love using oversized blazers because that made me look a certain way. And just gathering confidence from different professionals has been essential to figuring out how my image is going to transcend.
That's amazing. I think that part of my job is publicity, image, and branding. When we work with an artist or an actor or anyone of influence, image is everything, because it's what you want to portray in what you're telling about your story. So I love her saying that, like, she discovered at one point that it was okay to be in a beach with a t-shirt, no nails. You don't have to do the long nails. There's some people that want to follow that trend, but authenticity for anyone is everything. So for example, like we're talking about right now, and I told you I was gonna say this in my intro, you know, I've been doing this for 24 years, since I was 16 years old, and I'm 41 today, and I am very glad of everyone I've worked with. They listen to me, but it takes time, because like she said, you go through the stylist who tells you no this, and then you go through another stylist, then you go through a hairstylist, then you go through nails. So as a publicist, you recommend image to your client, but sometimes they can't afford it, they cannot afford it. So as a publicist, many don't do that, but I go out to the brands and I talk to them, and I said, no, you need to build with this image that we're trying to build, because this person is doing this and the numbers help. But I was gonna say this in my intro, like right now we're doing a panel about music, fashion and PR and culture, and my friend Beyonce gave me this Komodo a year ago.
Casual name drop.
No.
Just no big deal.
But
Her friend B.
no, but what I'm trying to say is that she brought culture, which is a Komodo, into something that she was passionate about. Sports represents me because I work with a lot of athletes as well and build their image and their branding and everything. But overall, it's fashion. So it's a lot of what these artists can do today and what fashion can represent in one. And that's why I wanted to wear this, because sports, color, culture, and fashion, and also telling a story can say a lot. And I think that everyone here should not stop their dreams to tell a full story.
And you look fabulous.
No, and she's on trend, because snakeskin is on trend. But yeah, I just wanted to say that, because as everyone in fashion and everybody in marketing should be, you know, upping everything.
Very quickly, I think one of the things that you said, I read an article on Billboard, I think a few months ago, that basically was talking about how much for female artists, it's a lot harder because you have to deal with the
I don't
cost
take a lot of female artists.
makeup, and you have to deal with the cost of hair, and you have to deal with the cost of styling, and that ultimately, it is a lot of cost when like guys just put on the black T-shirt and go on stage.
But you know who
and
taught me? One of my good friends, Leslie Grace, taught me. Her mom does her hair, her aunt does her makeup, and then I have other clients that just do it themselves. Yeah. And because I don't take a lot of female clients because it is very costly. It's a lot of money to invest in yourself. But even for men, they don't want a stylist because they're too macho. But you have to tell them it's your image. It's definitely your image.
And what happens, for example, when an artist gets signed by a record label? How much does the label and the marketing and the PR team and the branding team in relation to the label influence in how the artist looks, what they wear, the fashion decisions, anything like that? Is there an influence?
You want me to answer that?
I mean, I can take it.
Sony's a good family to me. I have probably half of my roster is Sony. They have no decision. They really look at the image first, to be honest with you, and the numbers and the followers and everything that the artist has. But they do give them leverage. Do they pay for it? No. The artist does. But overall, it comes from creativity of the artist on how they evolve. So pretty much with your music, you have to be conceptual. And that's why I always tell my clients, like, if you're gonna come out with this album, what's the concept? Let's build an image, let's build a brand, let's build a social media component. And with that, you grow your fashion image, but you grow overall telling a story from head to toe. Like, she's telling that story from head to toe. You know, I would love to hear more about what her music is, but overall, it's telling people and then growing within each album, every single, it takes a lot of time, it does, but yeah.
I also think artists are very different, and I have a lot of artist friends, and you know, my favorite thing about my career is writing. I wouldn't sing if I didn't write, and that's just me. That's my favorite part of the job. Hopefully, don't take away my pen. You can take away everything else, but don't take away the pen. And then I have other friends who their favorite part about the career is dancing. And then I have other friends who their favorite part about their career is strategy and marketing. And so I feel like there is room for different types of artists to evolve in different ways. I've had different experiences with record labels. Ultimately, I am very, very grateful to like everybody that came into my life. I feel like there's a phrase, I don't know if I can attribute it to either Socrates or my mom, but either or, it's like, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I feel like I always head into projects or a relationship, because it is ultimately a relationship that you're gonna create with the record label in that way. And being able to rely on people that have like years of experience on areas that you have like no idea, kind of gives you the freedom to be able to create the art that you want. So I want them to be involved in my project, but I don't feel like they can steer the boat. I also have a very hard time delegating. So a lot of times you'll see me like, you know, pulling overnighters and like trying to do like editing my own. I love editing my own music videos. That's insane to a lot of label people, but it's like, let me do it. That's one part of my career that I really like. So it depends. I think that artists are different, but ultimately a label is there to like assist you. Not always that is the case. We will hear forever a bunch of label horror stories, but I guess I have been lucky in that way. I've had my fair share of troubles too, but we'll get into those on another panel.
I love how you both mentioned so much about the relation of what music is and how that kind of like for example, I was gonna say music doesn't just impact fashion through an artist's style. It extends to the core of lyrics and music videos. And you and I were having that conversation the other day, Kay, where the simple fact that an artist can drop a designer's name, and just dropping that name kind of intertwines and might create a relationship that can lead to profits, not just for the artist, not just for the label, but also for the designer. And that's why I think it's beautiful also that you are wearing what Beyonce gave you, because what she did with Adidas is a perfect example of that authenticity of Beyonce, but also her understanding what she's bringing to Adidas, but also what Adidas was bringing to her in that partnership that they did.
Well, they're no longer, but
Right.
but in terms of your comment, so I was telling her the other day, Maluma called me one day in management and said, okay, for Papi Juancho's album, we mentioned Christian Dior in a song. Que el cuarto huela Christian Dior. And I said, okay. And they were like, we need to get him to sponsor the video. I was like, ho, 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 ho. Well, hold on. It does not work like that. And they were like, well, we need them on board. So I called my good friend, the designer of Dior, and I told him I will, no, not at all. But I told him, can we meet with Maluma? And he was like, who's Maluma? And I said, okay, do you know the song Hawaii? And I started singing the song to the team in the call, Hawaii. And he was like, what song is that? I was like, okay, it's the #1 song in the world. He goes, you know what? I'm doing something with J Balvin for Harper's Bazaar Men in Miami in the design district. Funny enough, we're here. That's so crazy. I didn't even think about that. We did the photo shoot with him. I'll put him in Dior. I said, great start. So I call Maluma and I tell him, he's like, perfecto. When are we getting the campaign? I was like, we're not getting a campaign. Relax. So we did the shoot, and he was so in love with him. He built a relationship with him through that photo shoot for Harper's Bazaar Men. And overall, after that, we didn't get the campaign for Dior, to be honest with you. But he did sponsor all the clothes that I got to negotiate for his tour. So he wore Dior through entire tour for Papi Juancho. But after that, we got Versace. So then I did another cover where I said, you gotta wear Versace. And then we went to Donatella's house, and oh my God, we went to literally in Italy, his house, and they give us
Good times.
I don't want to talk too much about that, but overall, one step takes you to another step. But he got Dior for his tour.
Right.
Overall.
And I would say, obviously, once an artist is landing Dior and Dior is ready to work with the artist, it matches in caliber, right? They both, like I said, Dior understands very much that they're going to get something really good out of Juan. And Juan also knows he's going to get what he wants out of Dior. However,
But it's education. You have to teach people to understand working with a fashion designer,
right.
with music. It's not that easy. You know, you have to cultivate. Designers are very protective, just like artists with their music. You know what I mean? It's very like, this is mine, so I'm gonna
Right.
give you something, you want something, but how do we connect? So when the teams come out and try to connect with these folks, you have to learn that connection. It's not that easy, you know, because artists spend a lot of money on designers, and designers see them. You think that they don't see them? They see how much money they spend,
Right.
especially Latinos. They don't really care.
Yeah.
They don't. They want the relationship. They're all about people. Fashion is more about the people and loving and getting to know each other.
And what about when it's, for example, a up-and-coming or rising designer? If somebody says, hey, Giulia, I want to dress you, and you already know you're Giulia B, you know, you are this bad bitch. But, you know, maybe this designer isn't at your level yet in terms of reach, in terms of What are the nuances in that when someone wants to reach out to you?
I'm actually like this week for the Grammys, we're pulling this dress from this designer. She's not very known yet, but she just won this, I think the CFDA award or like something huge, or not me spoiling the look, but sorry. Anyways, I was so excited to work with her. Like, of course I would love to, have Gucci send me something amazing, yes, always, but at the same time to be working with a designer who's like a woman and she's like in the beginning of her journey and like admiring her creativity for what it is, like not necessarily because there's like a brand attached to it. Like I love the dress, that's it, I'm really excited. That excites me actually more maybe than other things. I think also one thing that a lot of girls have been talking a lot about vintage recently, and that's something that I really love. This is vintage. I always love vintage. Like if I have the opportunity to wear vintage, I will probably jump at it. And I think that it's something really that has been like brought into fashion in a way where like, I don't know, it's a mix of finding a way to show that your style is authentically you and not necessarily following a certain trend, like liking a piece for what it is and not necessarily going into a thrift store to get a certain type of brand, but like just finding a really good piece that has history. And something that I love to do as well is that Brazilian designers are like just like incredibly talented and creative.
Amazing.
It's just surreal, and they don't get enough of a platform when it comes to like the world stage on fashion. People are often looking towards European designers or I guess Latin American designers in general don't, usually don't transcend, but with this past,
I disagree because like recently,
but
no,
historically
I've
no.
always told my clients, always go to the designers that are from home. Latino designers, like I told.
They'll also treat you differently, because they'll have a relationship that's just more authentic in a way.
So Willy Chavala, who's a good friend, I don't know if you guys know Willy Chavala, CFDA designer, Mexican. He did very masculine, and also my friend Luar from Dominican Republic, who's another great friend of mine. I told them, I work with Toquisha, she's very masculine, she's showing something different, and they were like, we're Latinos, we're in. She didn't even know who they were. They were like, she was like, what about Jean-Paul Gaultier? I was like, no, girl, we're going this route. And she went to the CFDA with Willy Chavala, and also Luar is a good friend. And then after that, the bigger brands saw what she was wearing as a Latina with Latinos that they're following, and she got the Jean-Paul Gaultier campaign that I got her in Paris. So we have to support each other, and that's what people do not understand. Even when I told Maluma, he was like, we went to LV, we went to this, we went to that. I was like, you gotta go to Colombia Fashion Week. Yeah. And he was like, what? And he went, and now he just debuted his brand in Colombia, Toquisha, I said, you have to go to Dominican Republic Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. She goes, but we just came from Paris. I was like, I'm gonna put you in the show that exposes women that have been incarcerated. And she was like, I love the idea. And she bought the one woman all full Versace from her money and came with her and literally sat there in the show with the woman that was incarcerated that now has a business in fashion as well. And, they cried, and yes, that was a publicity moment, but you have to educate yourself with your clients. First, you have to educate yourself as the entrepreneur that's helping the client, but overall, we're providing a service as Latinos that we have to unite and tell them we have to. We really have to. Yes, I agree with the vintage. Vintage, I tell my clients, if they're not lending you, Latinos are not lending you, which please lend. It will help. But vintage is always, and there's many services, but that costs them money. And they're artists and actors and many people and models, they don't make the money to buy. it's more to represent you guys as fashion designers, and I think take advantage of it. And I think as artists also, please take advantage, like help each other out.
There's something about just working with a designer that like speaks your language, a designer
yeah.
that can, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just a
You'll be
different.
surprised.
It is a different creative process, and you know, it's like what you said about Colombia Fashion Week, like São Paulo Fashion Week. This week, like this year, they had one of the most beautiful collections. I'm sorry, in whole of Europe, I didn't see a collection as beautiful as I saw in São Paulo Fashion Week with one of the brands. I was in a magazine shoot, and they got this like amazing Dolce & Gabbana look, and like I love Dolce & Gabbana as much as an
I
ex
love my
girl.
Dolces.
But they had this incredible like 3D printed corset piece from this Brazilian designer, and I was like, that's the cover. I don't care. like that needs to be, because you know it was so representative of the message that was behind the shoot as well, that you can't make a decision that is, you know, good for publicity but isn't good behind the scenes. If you're making a decision, it has to be a conscious choice that is something that is supporting the entire message behind that.
And I think that nowadays a lot of, whether it be brands or designers or event organizers, they know about you and they want to reach out to you. They want to invite you to come to the event. They want to invite you to try, you know, their latest collection, to wear it and to see. I'm curious I think many don't know how to. They don't know if the artist has a team member, has a person like Kanessa. They don't know what to do, and all of us, what we have in common is social media, right? How bad or good does it look? And I want your perspective in regards to an artist, for example, like Maluma. Maluma has 60 million plus followers, right? Or if somebody DMs you directly and says, hey, I want to dress your client, or you, Giulia, if somebody DMs you and says, I want to invite you to this event or to this fashion event, I want to know how good or bad does it look, and are you open to things like that? Because I think sometimes people are scared to do it because they're like, they're not going to reply.
We've all been there, I feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all been there. Like I've been the person sending the DM. You know, I have at least with fans, for me, it's something like a little more personal, even like just because like if I get the time to do it, I'm probably gonna answer a fan just because they like pour their heart out to me. So you know, I'm just gonna take my time. But a lot of times, like brands and stuff, you know, I'll take a screenshot and like send it to my team, and we'll like loop stuff in. So sometimes not answer directly, but if it's like, I don't know, like I've gone to like a fan's graduation because of a DM that I saw. Like, you know, it was something that she really wanted me to be there, and I wanted to be there too.
I think for me, it depends on your character, who you are as a person. I'm the type of person, I wake up every morning and I check in on everyone, right? Whether it's DM, I check my DMs. Even if it's a random designer reaching out to me, or my friends telling me about Miami Fashion Week, who my friend is sitting right there, he handles a lot of that, and telling me, who do you have in town? You know, is checking in on people. But it depends on your character. Some people, they check their DMs and a designer can reach out to them and they'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna ignore this. I don't ignore it, because you never know. You can't ignore. You can say thank you, look at their page, study them up, take the time to really look who they are, because you never know. And then when they blow up, you're like, oh my God, I ignored your DM.
I should have. You start, I should have spoken to them then.
Yeah, so
treat others how you would like to be treated. Another mom advice.
yeah. So at the same time, it's like the way we look for opportunities in this room, they're looking for opportunities as well. And you never know who you're going to meet through DM. Look, social media for me is a love and hate situation, but I have to be in it because of my business. But you do have to check into your friends. Maybe your friend's starting a flower line, and maybe your client needs flowers for an event. And then you're like, I'm gonna give you this opportunity. You just never know. With friends and with strangers, just my main goal in my life is to meet everyone.
Yeah. And to add to that, not to exclude men, but I just think that there's something special when like a woman is collaborating with another woman, I call it the sacred feminine. There's just something magical about making something with a friend or somebody lending a hand and just like being able to share the spotlight with a woman and know that you're shining brighter because she's shining next to you. I feel like that's something that for me, at least in fashion, women have been patrons and collaborators, an angel sent in very hectic fashion weeks.
Women are more catty than men. I'd rather work with men at times because men are more collaborative. But with women, I've been more patient, especially Latinas, because we come from different cultures. We're very complicated as Latinas, but I just work with anyone and anyone that wants to work and has a passion and really wants to conquer the world the same way I do. Still at 24 years of my career, I'm still passionate and moving forward.
I love that. And I truly think that another reason why it's very important that designers and brands collaborate with artists in different calibers is because these artists and the music industry and the little strategies and the strategists that are behind the artists can really help elevate a brand. I'm very nerdy, so I brought you guys a little story. I read in The Guardian an article that says, "I'm with the brand, how merch saved the music industry." And it says that Travis Scott's 2 shows at London's O2 in August of 2022 were a huge success, selling out in less than 2 hours, with tickets for the 20,000 capacity venue going for as much as £180. But when it came to profit margins, that was only part of the story. Scott also sold $1 million, 900,000 pounds of merchandise at these concerts, surpassing a record previously set by BTS in 2019. Music merch is an industry in its own right, one with global retail sales valued at $3.5 billion in 2018. When it comes to these collaborations,
That's strong numbers. We just did with Romeo Santos and Aventura a collaboration for merch with Amazon, and they sold out in every venue. I don't want to say the money and how much they gave them, but they sold out, and they did it with Faye, they did it with Raúl Alejandro in every concert. So I think that the platforms, music platforms of the day are seeing that fashion is a big situation when it comes to the image and the music. And a lot of artists are not taking advantage of it. I think, is it upping right now with the merch? Not really. I'm working with my clients to make it different for next year because it's gonna die down. It's, all right, this one's doing it, that one's doing it, all right. Everybody's getting a check, but how do you elevate yourself in making your merch legendary? Like, I wear an old Wu-Tang shirt that I bought in a 90s shop in New York for $100 when it was $5 when I was young. So you want to get at that level where your merch does become vintage and people are gonna fight for it 20 years and become a collective. Yes, thank you.
and I definitely think it goes with exactly what you've been saying about an artist's authenticity, because a lot of the artists that I've seen blow up fashion-wise and become influential, Fade with his Oakley, with his white
I'm
Oakley
sorry, I'm
sunglasses.
gonna sell this at one point in my life. I'm gonna sell this off.
I'm sure you are. Have her sign it.
This has just become an auction.
I think the authentic style of an artist, Giulia, you can speak more on that part, does influence, even though it's important for the image of that artist to be formed. When you see Fade selling out Oakley sunglasses, which he's been wearing historically for the past 3, 4, 5 years, and all of a sudden Fade blows up and this neon green becomes like the new trend and he's wearing those sunglasses. Or look at what Yeezy did with Adidas, like the Yeezys, and how he turned that into, he had all of us wearing those shoes that look like clouds, those Weird
I
Crocs.
don't have Yeezys. I love him, but you can even. I'm sorry. I don't want to take over. Sorry, but image is a big thing for me with my clients. Like a Peso Pluma, for example. How was Peso Pluma a big news that he cut his hair? And then everybody cut their hair the way Peso Pluma cut
Yeah.
his hair. You know, when Maluma did like the dirty boy, whatever, pretty boy that we did, and then went to Papi Juan, like this was crazy. You know what I mean? So image is an impact with music that sometimes we don't believe. But then you have clients like mine, like Residente, who don't care.
Right.
But he wears a brand, which is the R, in his hat. And that is his brand because his music speaks for itself. But he has a branding with his image, which is the R, and being simplistic and being the way he wants to be. So,
And Giulia, staying loyal to that, I'm going to add to it so you can just close it off. Staying loyal to that authenticity while also wanting to set trends because they also help you create relationships with certain brands. Does that put pressure on an artist? Like, do you feel pressure of, okay, I want to be myself, but I also want to do something cool and new so that, you know, Vogue invites me back on the cover with my, I don't know, my earrings?
Yes, but at the same time, like when I don't know, I'm also a nerd, a researcher, and when I look at the people that I've admired the most, they haven't really changed their style according to the seasons. They've really found something that was authentic to them and kind of stuck to that. So, of course, I love being on snakeskin trend, but I've loved snakeskin for years. I've had this, you know. I think it's about finding something that feels real and having the courage to change. I feel like women also, as female artists, we have like more pressure. There's become this thing of like the era, or like, okay, what's gonna be the next era? Is she gonna be a goth girl, sad girl, pretty girl, manic pixie girl? Like, you know, so many different
you're like,
types.
I'm just me.
You know, I love all of these cores. Like one day I'll wake up, I'll be ballet core. Next day I'll be fairy core. I don't know. But, you know, it's the beauty of like understanding what cores kind of make your core and figuring out how allowing that relationship to change. I definitely changed my relationship with fashion. When I started, I was a little more jaded and then started experimenting with color and kind of identifying. Like, I think my style is a mix of like something classic, but at the same time, I'm a pop star, so I can't be boring. And it's finding that middle ground. And you know, with brands, I've had the experience of creating a collab collection. I made a collab collection with a fitness brand actually, and it was literally, I was like, this is for the hot girlies. I don't care. Like, this is for you guys to look good at the gym. There's no performance aspect to this outfit, but like you're gonna perform on the mirror. Yeah, you know, that's was my goal with the collection. It was a huge success, and to kind of, you know, get images, I don't know, from everywhere in Brazil, to kind of have people send, you know, pictures of me like at a mall towering, you know, like that's always like super cool as an artist, and it definitely brings awareness to your music because, I don't know, you're passing by the mall and then you see that huge girl, you're like, oh, who's that? I think I've seen her before, and then suddenly they're in your Spotify, and I think that it works interchangeably too. And at least I love when brands also let me collaborate, like when they let me have a voice within the project, when it's not like just follow the brief, this is the hashtag, this is what you have to say. Like when they're like, what do you want to say? How would your fans react to this in a way that's, you know, true to you, true to them? One thing that I love doing is I always like open my stories and I ask people to like send me their tea. I'm like, spill the tea, I'll write a song about you. And there was once that I worked with the brand, and it was like a huge success as well, like a campaign that we did. I was like, we picked a theme, and it was like a love theme because it was like a Valentine's Day campaign, and I kind of like wrote 15-second love songs about like people's lives, and we got over 10,000 people sending in like different stories, and like a lot of tea, like enough for 10 albums, but I don't know, it's cool when brands let you be yourself and don't like try to change you. Like, we want to work with you because you're you, not because we want you to fit in this scheme of who we are.
I love
that. Makes sense?
Like my mother says, I don't know, is everybody Latin here?
Latinos.
Hopefully, ¿verdad?
Adios.
Es la percha, no la ropa. Es la percha siempre, no. El gancho también se dice así, ¿verdad? No la ropa.
Ladies.
So, it's the hanger, not the clothes, girl.
That's right. And with that, my set of questions, I'm all done. I want to open the floor to you to be able to ask Kanessa and Giulia anything that you want. Do you want to use my microphone? Oh, there you go.
Hi. I have a good question. I think like representing.
Speak up a little bit, my love.
Okay. I just kind of have a question, kind of like representing all the small designers. In my head, I was like repeating over and over, how do I reach to the right person, or how, as a small designer, I knock the right door in order to have my foot inside. I feel like sometimes we're very creative and have great products, but sometimes we don't know how to approach to the right person. And then I just want to ask, like, what's the best advice, either the three of you, like, hey, if you're a small designer, reach to this person, I think they're gonna help.
I'm gonna answer that because a lot of my friends are small designers, right? First of all, it's very hard as a small designer because let's say you do reach out to, I don't know, Cardi B's team, right? And she loved your product. For small designers, sometimes that demand of, you reached it, right? But then how do you scale it? And sometimes with small designers, it's just not that easy. So I think for small designers, start easy by building a community of working your way through publicists, working through meeting, people within the industry, kind of telling your voice and get the word around. Everybody's gonna tell you, I'll be a hypocrite if I tell you, do a DM or do an email. Sometimes it goes to loss, and sometimes I get so many emails from new designers, and I respond because you never know, but not everybody's like me. Many people in my industry, unfortunately, are ignorant and just say, F you. Oh, they won't even respond to you. But I think build your community as a designer with different, even upcoming publicists, upcoming strategists, marketing people, upcoming managers, different designers, help each other out. You have to build a community.
I know this is probably like the most annoying advice ever, but I have had it given to me, and I feel like as an artist, and designers are artists too, and in a different way, you have to post your art. Like, unfortunately, that is the reality of the day-to-day. You have to post your process. If there's one investment that you can make, hire your friend to like film you, doing that. A lot of times I have reached out to young designers and stuff that like I've seen pop up on my feed. Like, truly, that's been my latest experience, and I know that that's like, again, the most annoying advice possible, because as an artist, a lot of times you're like, leave me alone. I just want to make the thing. I don't want to show people what I'm making. I'm still making it. It's not ready. But I think that goes back to the community thing. Like, that's how you're going to connect with people.
Models.
And you're going to connect with people on like a new level. You never know who's watching. Like, I've literally I was crying on a birthday live, and then all of a sudden Mark Anthony like comments on my live. He's like, "No llores." I'm like, "Mark Anthony? What?" And I was like, "Yep, it's okay. Estoy llorando de felicidad." But you never know, Like, some crazy stuff has happened on Instagram, and if there's anything less,
I always say I agree with you 100%. Like, if you look at my Instagram right now, my Instagram is my portfolio. I tell my clients, your Instagram will always tell your work. Stop talking about what you ate unless
my
you're
social media team is like, follow your own advice.
But if you want that, all right, great, put it on your stories. But your social media is your portfolio. Lately, on my signature, I have to go to my Instagram. People go into my Instagram and they're like, "We follow you." I'm like, okay, great. But, I agree with her, and to end it there, use your social media as your portfolio, not as a social media situation for yourself personally
And have
in
fun.
terms of business. If you're gonna do that, then have a personal one. But if you're gonna have a business, use that as your portfolio.
And also, I'm going to just reply to you as a journalist, because it's different as a journalist, because when they're reaching out to me, they want me to put them on the news, you know, they want me to write an article about them, and everybody has
that's
a
a whole
story.
other story.
Everybody has an amazing story. Everybody has a story, yes. But I always tell people, shoot your shot, you know, send the email, send the DM. Sometimes I receive DMs and I don't reply till a year later or a year and a half later when I'm like, because I look at all of them. I look at all the DMs, I look at all the emails, and then I just save things just in case. Like, these are the designers that reached out to me. These are
You
the
still have
book
to
authors
respond
that
to
reached
me
out
on
to me.
certain things. I'm kidding.
So shoot your shot. Don't be afraid of it. If you don't get a response right away, it might just be that a journalist isn't working on it right away. I've had instances where I've written articles on three up-and-coming designers, right? And I learned so much about them. I learned their story, and it's happening right now that I reached out. I wrote about her maybe like 8 years ago for a fashion magazine. And I really love her. She's a Latin American designer. And this week I'm going to the Latin Grammys, and I called her. I'm like, I want you to dress me because, like, I'm going to be on the carpet, and I want to, like, support you because I've always loved what you do. And, you know, I always follow back and stuff. So shoot your shot, because if not, what? And I'm going to give you another example on shoot your shot. I know if any of you know Palmera Mia, which is a Colombian brand, and it's a Colombian athleisure brand and things like that. It was 3 kids. They had a really nice story, but they were selling kind of like the same thing that many brands are selling, caps and just athleisure wear. So what they did is one day Nicky Jam was having a meet and greet. And Nicky, we know he's like such a team player. Like, Nicky's like one of those like really nice people. And these kids show up and they give him a little, like, for the meet and greet, and they give him like their hat and like a little hoodie and like a beanie and things like that. And Nicky, porque es un bacán, he's so nice, he put on the cap and he took a photo, and these kids blew up. And then they became best friends with Fade before Fade was even famous. Like, Fade was just like friends. And then once Fade blew up, they did another collab with Fade, and now they have their store in Medellin, and, like, you know, they're doing so well. But if they wouldn't have said strategically, just these 3 kids by themselves, let's go take this cap to Nicky Jam and this hoodie, just like to give it to him so he can know our story, they probably wouldn't be doing what they're doing. And the reason why I wrote about them, I was the first journalist to ever write about them, was because Nicky Jam wrote it, and then a friend of mine reached out, and she was like, look at these 3 Colombian kids, look at what they did, look at the strategy, look at how they got to Nicky Jam. And I thought it was just so cool and interesting for other designers to know, and that's like how the collab worked.
The story
so shoot
can
your
go
shot.
on. Yeah, I can answer this question forever because my husband is a fashion designer. My husband started Lemonade Stand for years, and his best friend was SZA. I don't know if anybody know who SZA is in this room. When she was no one.
Right.
And she would wear everything, and he would print and design. And during the pandemic, he was like, what am I gonna do now? People are not gonna buy. I was like, you know what? I'm your wife, and there's a publicist in the family right now. Let's make it about the people. So we turned the brand into giving back. And then next thing you know, all these celebrities, SZA, everybody that supported him, that at the moment he was dressing, started posting it during the pandemic, and his sales went crazy.
Yeah.
You
There's
know,
a lot of
so you
stories
just
like
never
that.
know. You
There's a
just
lot of
never know.
stories. There's a lot of stories like that, you just don't hear them. I have to wrap up. I have everyone over there haciéndome
Sorry.
todas las señas. But I don't know if either of you want to say one final word.
I just want to, once again, thank you so much for, you know, sitting your asses on that chair for so long and listening us to yapping about life. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for being so amazing. It was
So
such a pleasure
honored.
to meet you, ladies.
So honored.
This is
both of you.
amazing.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have it many, many, many
Yes.
years to
Cheers
come.
to more. 2
Cheers.
brilliant women. Brilliant, brilliant women. Thank you, truly. Thank you.
I just want to say que viva los latinos, please, vamos a unirnos porque, mire, los afroamericanos se unen, los americanos blancos se unen, nosotros estamos partidos porque somos una raza bien difícil de entender, que si es colombiano, ecuatoriano, venezolano, brasileño, que sí o qué, vamos a unirnos y ayudarnos uno al otro, porque si no, la raza no se va a unir en nada.
Tudo.
Hola, me encanta oírla, soy de Venezuela, pero yo quiero que antes que te vayas nos tararees algo de tu música, por favor.
Con el mayor placer. Voy a cantar a capela, por favor, perdóname porque no estaba preparada, pero si conoce, pues, bueno, vamos a hacer como así. Una chica brasileña y nadie la frena. El muchacho era un latino, buscaba una nena. Viajaron a la playa y empezó el problema, A mina chegou gigante, cheia do esquema. Moleque apaixonado e ela toda plena. Ele caiu a amor, ela só tinha pena. Mientras él dormía, lo que no sabía, su lista de contacto ella miraba y leía esa chiquita suelta. Esa chiquita suelta. Mientras él dormía, lo que no sabía, su lista de contacto ella miraba y leía quien ella quería. Essa chiquita suelta, vem comigo, vai ter que superar, tendrá que superar, essa chiquita suelta, ei, essa chiquita suelta, tendrá que superar, tendrá que superar, essa chiquita suelta, essa menina solta.
Gracias, amor.